out there, wherever you are, if you're there. My name's Emily.
And I'm Elle.
And, okay, so there's a sheet in Elt's corner that's been there for like 3 days, and it's vaguely humanoid in shape. And I don't know if she's trying to bring in a cactus again, which happened one time, but then someone got a little bit too huggy with the cactus, and that wasn't good. So I'm hoping there's not a cactus under there because I'm still picking thorns out of my arms. So what's underneath that sheet?
Well, I'm glad you admitted to being the one with the huggy with the cactus because
it was so
everyone
cute,
knows
though.
by now. Yeah, okay. Everyone knows I'm not the one hugging the cactus. So really, you weren't supposed to see what's the sheet, but because you took the Nerf gun to the pillow fort, that's why. Basically, last special, Emily brought in her pet friend. So I wasn't retaliating, but because we moved locations now, we're in a new basement. We went back to the old basement, and I brought down a guest. I smuggled him in, and I'm not telling how many number of turns we took because then he would know how to get back to the basement, and that can happen. But we do have a special guest today, and when we tell you why he's a special guest, just put on like earmuffs so your mind doesn't like totally blow out of your ears or something. Because
ew, that'd be gross. And then you have to clean it up.
You know, this would happen in the kind of stuff that our guests would write probably. So we have a very special guest. His name is Tim Burke, and his people sent me a whole zip file of all the honorifics that I'm supposed to include when I introduce him. But it wouldn't open on my computer, and I almost shut the whole thing down because it's such a big file.
Okay, here, I'll make some up. Tim is the head of the Foot in a Shoe Club, and they are the people who make sure that feet fit properly in shoes. He's also head cheese master of Wisconsin, which means that all new cheese flavors have to go through him. And if he doesn't like the flavor, it's not a new cheese that's made. And he once won a gold medal for finding a Waldo in a Where's Waldo book.
I don't even know how you knew all that about him. And this is like the first time he's being revealed from under the sheet. So well done. So welcome. So first, welcome, Tim. Welcome to our program. Let us know how you want us to refer to you.
Your Highness is fine. I'm a humble kind of guy. No problem. It's interesting to learn that much about myself. I did not know. You guys are very thorough in your investigations.
We are.
Well, after I let the last person into the basement, and Elt was really upset about that because apparently it's a secret location and no one's supposed to know, blah, blah, blah. So now we have to do a whole bunch of extra research before someone can come in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very impressed.
Thank you. You can never be too careful. You must always know.
And finally, I have something to be proud of. The cheese thing is probably my greatest success.
You know, people like cheese, so what's wrong with that?
That's it.
So Tim's here today because you may have noticed something at the beginning of the episode, or you might notice at the end of the episode. We now officially have, for our podcast, the Oh My Word podcast, we now officially have, very appropriate drum roll should follow. Everybody, drum roll. We now have theme music!
Woo!
And it is not a pack of screeching zombies, even though that was our preference. Instead, well, Tim, did you even try to get the screeching zombies in?
I came close, I think. A lot of people compare. For some reason, Screeching Zombies does come up a lot when people talk about my music. So
wow.
It's eerily close to accurate.
You know what? It must be admiration. They must be considered admiration.
Either that or jealousy. I think it's just...
You're right. It's probably jealousy. So Tim is the evil mastermind. You don't mind if we call you evil, right?
It's redundant, but go for it.
Right. Tim is the evil mastermind behind our theme music. And number one, we are so grateful to him because when he said, hey, what kind of music do you want? And we said, music that has sound in it, he still able to come up with what he came up with, which you hear and you will keep hearing and you can be amazed by it. And he's also a mastermind because he did this for us, even though we are basement dwellers, and he didn't hold this against us. So thanks, Tim.
Well, it was a fun challenge. I actually enjoyed the challenge, especially because you wanted two almost completely different competing elements. So,
well, okay, we tried to get on the same page about it, but some people just have horrible taste in music, and some people are me. So,
yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna bring another cactus in if you keep up with this. Anyway, so now that we have Tim here for our special, because we couldn't reveal the theme music until we introduced Tim. So this is Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hello.
Yeah. And Tim, you need to know about, because within very soon, you're going to see his books all over shelves. At least that's what we want to tell the literary agents and publishers who are listening, that why aren't Tim's books all over the shelves yet? We don't know. But they will be one day. So remember his name and say that you knew about him here first.
Yay.
I think we can wrap up now, right? What else is there to say? Nothing else.
Pretty much it.
I think maybe we should hear a little bit about your books.
About him? Do we need to learn about him also?
Fine.
Okay.
Sure. So we starting with, by the way, if you play my theme music backwards, there are secret hidden messages in it.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure to do that on the Dark and Stormy.
I think, I'm hoping that agents hear those secret messages backwards. So that's all I'm going to say. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So you wanted to know, I'm speaking about what I write? Is that what I'm doing?
Oh, did we skip ahead to that? We could skip to that. Or we could start with the fact, like, how on earth did you end up here, and not in the sense of how did we smuggle you into the basement?
Gotcha. Okay. So, well, I am an East Coaster, Buffalo, New York, survived the winters there, and then went up to New England and had more snow blizzards and things. So you'd think I'd learn. I'm a slow learner. And then so finally I came out here, and I've been out here so long that when I go back to Buffalo to visit in the winters, I've become a complete wimp with the cold. And I see kids like from Buffalo, they're like in flip-flops. This is like February, and there's 10 feet high snow drifts, and the kids are in flip-flops going into the supermarket. It's the weirdest thing, and I'm freezing, wearing 7 layers of coat. So I'm definitely become an LA person at this point. And I came out here for music, actually, secretly. So and went through a guitar program there, and then wanted to just do it professionally, and then decided that I didn't want to do it full-time professionally because it meant a lot of traveling and lifestyle compromises I didn't want to make. So, so I slowly drifted into teaching, and now I'm slowly drifting into writing for children.
So you decided that music wasn't enough of a, money-making career, so you went to writing instead.
Yeah, I mean, no, it could have been, but I would have had to make big compromises. You really have to compromise in certain ways. And when I was doing it full time, I was doing everything possible. Like, I would help arrange songs. I would be writing charts out for people. I mean, just every possible music responsibility. And it didn't make sense. And then when I saw people going on the road for long periods of time, without any guarantee that you're going to be doing that a year from now, it just didn't make sense for me. But for other people that are super talented and, they've got the drive and they're young enough to be sleeping on garage floors or whatever, it makes sense to be doing that.
Yeah. Plus, if you're out on the road, you don't always know if you have a safe basement to go back to. So
that is an excellent point. I should have led with that. I don't know what I was thinking.
So and then you started teaching. What were you teaching?
So being born and bred in Buffalo, New York, ice hockey's in the blood. So when I came out here, I started playing ice hockey again. There's a lot of indoor hockey here in LA, which you wouldn't think, but there are tons of ice hockey. And the wife of one of my good buddies had a tutoring business. And it was almost strictly for Japanese executives who were coming over from like Toyota or whatever with their families. And the kids needed help, English as second language kind of thing. So it was private tutoring business. And she needed someone to help. So she hired me, and then eventually we became business partners. And then the market changed drastically, and I really had to switch into like standardized test kind of tutoring and high school math, things that I didn't normally think of myself as tutoring. So, pre-calc, all that kind of weird stuff. And now it looks like the market's changing again, like standardized tests, with the UC system dropping the SAT and ACT, and it's really a brave new world out there. And then the pandemic has changed things. So I'm switching into children's writing at just the right moment, I think.
Yeah, well, why children's writing? Because I don't know if we're allowed how much we could talk about this, but your wife writes murder mysteries.
Yeah, adult thrillers, murder mysteries.
Right. And I met her, and she seemed like a really nice person. I don't know how she ended up with Tim, just side note, but she.
I don't get it either.
But she does. She writes that stuff. So it's interesting. You went in a very different direction, which I'll skip. You're going to write where you're going to write, but it just seems like, maybe if she would have brought you along, or maybe that, oh, this is what I'm, in the house with, so maybe I'd go in that direction. So why did you turn to children's writing instead?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, ironically, the only times I've been published are in the two adult crime fiction magazines, Ellery Queen and Alfred Hitchcock. So that's the only publishing I've done is exactly what you're talking about. So I don't get it, but I have the maturity of like a third grader. So I went for children's writing, and I'm kind of writing above my maturity level for fourth and fifth grade, but I like the challenge. And there are certain things that I've just always loved all my life. Robots. I love, places with secret tunnels, houses with secret tunnels inside. And I love Tintin, the cartoon comic strip Tintin. I grew up and got into reading thanks to a really big series, like 25 books in the series. But every time I bring them up, everybody, even people my age, look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, no one's ever heard of this. But you might have heard of the TV show Mr. Ed anyway. Do you remember hearing that? The talking horse?
Mm-hmm.
That same guy, the guy who created that character, wrote 25 novels about a pig, Freddie the Pig, and he was a detective, and in the next book he's a pilot, and he would get like these passions going, and every book he'd explore them, and he'd the next thing he'd discover Robin Hood, and so he and his skunk friends would be all into learning how to shoot bow and arrow and have spears, and he gets a pilot's license, and I mean, it's just wild stuff, and it's just really fun, imaginative things. So that got me hooked on that kind of storytelling. I love it. It's very, it's just fun. And my bottom line is basically, I would like to just show kids that reading's just darn fun. It's a fun adventure. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be able to do, something that's, a prize-winning, emotional tearjerker kind of thing. I don't have that in me. I've got, the finding the secret tunnel, the robot that goes bonkers kind of story in me. So I guess that's why I gravitated toward it. I really enjoy it. I have a blast doing it. I don't know if I'll ever get published. I may not even find an agent, but as long as you really love the process, then you're coming out ahead anyway. So I have a blast doing it, writing it. And else in a critique group with me, and I love getting the feedback from people like you. Yeah, like I just went over your comments today and revised. And unfortunately, your comments were like major revision suggestions. But as soon as I read them, I go, she's right. I got to do it. So I just totally tore that chapter apart. And I do believe it's better, but that's because I get great perspective from fellow writers like Elle. So I think it's just a fun process all the way around for me so far.
Okay. I don't know why Tim is just heavy on the flattery right now, because we don't have any cake down here. So,
but you did drag him down to the basement. So maybe he thinks that if he flatters you, you might let him out. Warning, she won't.
I'm hoping that you'll forgive that $1.33 I borrowed 2 years ago. I'm hoping that with the flattery, it'll.
Uh-oh.
Right.
We got inflation. It's going
Uh-oh.
to. Oh, well. So how did you find, so the critique group that we're part of is SCBWI, which nobody knows what that stands for, but it's Society for Children's Books Writers and Illustrators. And how did you land there?
How did I land there?
Yeah.
Weird story. Glad you asked. No, I just finally realized that I need to join the group, because SCBWI, it really is the place to be if you want to be a children's writer. I mean, there's just great resources. You meet, like-minded people that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. It makes sense. So I joined, and then started going to the monthly meetings that a fellow, very super talented writer, Ernesto Cisneros, was running. We met at a bookstore, the upper floor of a children's bookstore. Really cool place. unfortunately, it didn't last because the bookstore went under, which was a very sad deal. So he moved on to other things and wanted me to take over that, helping to run the monthly meetings. And then the RA, the regional advisor, that's the head of the chapter, decided to retire after, I think, like maybe 24, 25 years. Fran had been one of the early founders of the chapter. So pretty amazing, but she wanted to step away and get to her own writing. And the two assistant people were too busy and couldn't step up. So I jumped a number of rungs, which was a mistake because I don't know what I'm doing still. But people have been very kind and patient. But I was pretty green stepping into the shoes. So the learning curve has been severe, to say the least. But I've met a lot of great people and a lot of great experiences and learned a lot. So that's how I got there.
It's cool that it sounds like you jumped into writing and you also then jumped into the leadership.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that organization. I've never, I didn't really do a lot of the student council thing, in high school or whatever. And so I'm not really experienced in all that. So I've had to learn a lot the hard way. Blackmail is a wonderful tool.
We know.
Oh yeah.
And I know
part of it. Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir, but
yeah, we saw it in a I think it was a documentary somewhere that people use it. Yeah, we're not. Otherwise, we're so unfamiliar.
Right, people have told me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So okay, so I guess you didn't blackmail your way to becoming the head then. Wow, I thought that story was going to be way different.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Somehow I ended up in that position anyway, and so.
So what do you do as the whatever of SC? I cannot say it as quickly.
Yeah, what do you do?
SCBWI.
That's impressive, yeah, because I wouldn't be able to. So basically, I'm in charge of the chapter, and what that means is we run 2 conferences a year. So we invite agents and editors for either a day or a weekend. One of them is a retreat up in the mountains. That's really a fabulous thing. Very small, like 28 people, and we just explore the craft of writing and just every aspect of children's writing. So that's what the conference is about. And then we have another one in the fall, which is on the Cal State CSUF Fullerton campus. And that's much larger. That's like 100 to 120 people that have been attending. And we have everything from like a panel on first pages where we read, shoot from the hip, read a first page that someone has submitted. And then the panel of agents and or editors will just give their 2 cents about what they think about the first page. So all kinds of fun stuff. You learn like just a number of different things, number of different aspects of writing. And then, so besides the conferences, we try to get the community what they need to become published children's writers. So try bringing guests, we've got monthly meetings. We have critique groups every month by genre. So if you're a picture book writer, you write, you meet in the critique group for picture book writers. So it makes sense that, because that's very different from middle grade. And I don't know if your listeners know the difference between those genres, but, picture book is obviously what it means. It's, for the really young kids, very little text and, just starting, maybe their parents are reading it to them. They can't even read. And then the middle grade is for up through 12 rather. And then, young adult is the teenage years. And that tends to be more, angst ridden and fewer filters, and you can have some cussing, all that good stuff that we all love to do. So, and I enjoy all 3 of those areas, although I don't do any picture books yet. I'd like to. It'd be fun.
I don't know if we should allow Tim to do a picture book, because just as a side note, Tim's pages these last few days involve a head only ghost pirate and a parrot with a mouth on him that apparently he's feeding bilge water to people's grannies. So just so you know what kind of person Tim really is, don't be fooled by his, oh, look, I'm going to be so articulate now and talk about being a chapter regional advisor person and look how mature. Don't be fooled. I'm just saying.
People think of kittens when they see and hear me. It's just halos. I'm just a very innocent, sweet, kind.
Yeah, like hugging a cactus. Exactly. Yeah. So, do you have what are certain things that writers or a lot of people coming into the group do you see that there's certain things that a lot of them are either focused on or asking about, as in, I want to be a writer, blah, 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 whatever, but I'm very worried about X, or I very much want to focus on X. Do you need a more specific question than that?
No, I got you. We'll be going to midnight on that.
So what, one or two or three or seven?
But we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's it actually there are a lot of things that I can answer that. I mean, one of the things that I realized early on is a lot of people who are interested, they get started in children's writing. They think they can write a picture book and they just crank one out, and guess what? It's like people who speak English think that they can teach English to non-English speakers. It's a whole different ballgame. It's much more tricky and complicated than you would imagine. And so once they get in there and sort of get in the critique groups and start to realize, wow, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. Some people get discouraged and drop out, but the ones who really are meant to do that, they stick with it and they learn the craft and do that. So that's one of the things. The other one is obviously people want to be published, so they want to know how to get an agent, and it's all about wanting an agent. But obviously you need the book to attract an agent. So a lot of times they're worried about the cart before the horse kind of thing. Like you need to really fix this book.
Yeah.
Most of the time. It's rare that somebody comes in with this, brilliant novel that doesn't need any editing or anything, and it just needs to be sent out. So there's a lot of craft that needs to be learned.
It's very interesting hearing you talk about that, only because I'm an actress, and a lot of the same thing happens. People come out and they want to find an agent right away, and they want to get booked, but they don't really want to take the time to go to the acting classes, take the improv classes, the on-screen, the auditioning, all the things. But the people who really, it's in their heart that this is the thing that they have to do, they'll work, and then everything else comes into success to some degree or another will come. But if you're going out for the success, but you don't have the product, and the product in an acting world is yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's just very interesting. Maybe that's all creative outlets.
Yeah.
You have to have the goods.
No, I agree. I think that's well said, actually, and a lot of what you just said applies across the board. I think music as well as right. And what's interesting is you mentioned a lot of different skills for acting. You're not just talking about you mentioned improv, for example, and I think so. Have you taken improv classes?
For over 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, so groundlings by any chance, or?
Not much in LA, because I'm not allowed out of the bunker too often.
Oh, okay.
But other places.
Yeah, I took a couple groundlings classes, and the reason I bring it up is I think it's a great example of how any aspect of the art helps you. Even, for example, if I just recently tried cranking out an early reader, which means for the listeners, because I know you guys know what it is, but the book that's for a young reader, so they're just getting started, so you don't want to hit them over the head with 3-paragraph sentences and large polysyllabic concatenation. Right. And that, even though I'm not really doing a lot of early reader books, and that was the first one, I felt like I learned from that. And then it feeds into my middle grade, which feeds into my young adult. When I'm doing young adults, it's like completely different. It's pretty dark, serious stuff. And it's really unrecognizable from my middle grade stuff. But so you're shaking your head. Did you?
Well, all your stuff is dark, so like you know how to take the nicest thing and just like add goblins to it. Or
Well, but it's interesting because I feel like I've learned all across the board, everything you do, no matter what it is, it feeds back into just the general ability to write, dialogue, whatever. I mean, so, and just like with improv, most acting, of course, is learning a line. Like you're not improvising, but I think you are some ways, right?
Yeah.
You change things that you just, even the tone of voice, whatever. So I think it teaches you how to experiment and how and when not to experiment. And even though I'm early at the stage where I still feel like I get a lot out of hearing other perspectives, like from critique groups. And some writers, apparently, they know exactly what they want and need to do. They don't need to hear anybody tell them, about their novel. I'm at this stage where I don't necessarily know, and it helps.
Right.
So I think, so to me, that's right. So I've kind of meandered a bit for your question out, but there are just really many things that people come for, but I think, I think mostly, and I think sometimes they arrive and find that they were looking for something they didn't realize they were looking for. Like, for example, sense of community. They don't realize that a sense of community is really an important part of, I think, an artist, I think. I mean, I don't know, Emily, if you have an actor community that you tap into, but I feel like that's really, and obviously the two of you are writers. You've obviously found each other. There must be like a bigger writer community that you're part of. And I think that's really crucial because it provides that emotional support that we need from time to time, and resources, like it's sharing resources and just all kinds of good stuff. So, so.
What I really want to know is if any of your good friends, when you tell them that you're writing, do they express concern over the fact that someone's allowing you to write?
Yeah, especially
for children.
Especially for children.
Yeah.
Isn't there a law? And that's usually a law against that is usually the first thing that people that's out of their mind. Yes. So, well, they are actually surprised because, I mean, there's the music side of it. Most of my friends know about the music things. I've tormented them by inviting them to gigs and things. In fact, my poor wife met me in my early career when I was still going to like those terrible there was this one club, she called it the kitty litter club because it had all these feral cats that roamed around inside. And the owner just didn't care. And of course, feral cats, when they're inside, we I don't know, maybe you can figure out what some of their habits are. That's why it smelled like the litter box. It was pretty rank and dank and awful, but
Stank.
But our band was was booked there, so she came to experience the full on and somehow stayed with me. That was like the litmus test, frankly. So
it must be her dark side, the murder thriller side.
Yeah, or the masochist in her. I don't know. Who knows? I got off base again, didn't I? I keep.
Yeah, how do we? Oh, we're talking about your wife. Okay, no.
We got kitty litters, but in any case, I'm sure it's all relevant to her.
Yeah, we have to be careful. We don't want to be any sort of subject, and like in her next novel or something, we're like, hey, why do these people seem so familiar? Who is this tight belt? Like, yeah.
For yourself, I definitely want to be a character in a murder mystery thriller. I don't care if I'm the crazy mass murderer or the victim or just some person on the street who sells hot dogs. That would be pretty cool.
Okay. I see Emily has a dark side too. Thank you, Tim, for bringing that out. That's just
also,
you do.
Right.
Tim, just to say, if you need another head-only parrot robot ghost or an arm-only parrot robot ghost, you can name it Emily, and I would be flattered.
I'm already working on a robot. Emiltron, I will call it. Emilytron.
You know what? That's actually good.
That's super cool.
The Emilyanator.
Okay, I need it.
I'll get there. I'm working on it.
Maybe the Emilyanator was in your English as a second language classes, and that's yeah. Those who must understand will understand. So now, just to bring them both together, when you're writing music and when you're writing, I think we sort of touched on this, but just to sit on it a little bit, do you see similarities between writing a story being similar to writing music, or are these two totally different things for you?
No, I truly do. In fact, I think that's what art is all about, period. And I think it's tapping into the emotion, tapping into the emotional. So, I mean, music for me is super emotional. And when you were talking about like trying to describe what theme you wanted, it's all about the emotions. We tried to throw adjectives around. Well, I want it to be dark and, foreboding and thing, or I want it to be uplifting and joyful and happy. Those are completely different emotions. And so the music is going to approach it differently. And same with the writing and painting or, sculptures, whatever. I mean, you look at my favorite Rodin sculpture, the one with the burghers of clay, like the leaders of the village who were supposedly sentenced to die, and they're all just standing around waiting to be executed. I don't know if you know that. It's a super powerful sculpture, and you can't look at it and when you hear the backstory, it's like, oh my gosh, it's really so. Anything in art, I think, is tapping into some kind of emotion, and even my middle grade, which I'm trying to keep it very light and humorous and fun and adventure. I think humor by itself is really vapid and boring, and it doesn't work. I think what really works is, I mean, that's why horror is the great horror, like Joss Whedon, who did like Buffy and Firefly, all that's good stuff. I mean, he's a genius at doing like super scary, roller coaster scary, and then super funny, and then it's that up and down ride that you do emotionally. And I think with anything, with writing, it can't just be humorous or funny because it stays at one level. It's very it becomes very superficial and thin, and so Mark Twain, brilliant. Mm-hmm. Like he can be super funny and then pow, like twist it right away. And so I think that's what it's all about, is no matter what medium you're doing, is you're tapping into the emotions of that moment, and the emotions can change and evolve, but it always comes basically down to that ultimately.
So we're going into painting next. Is that what did I extrapolate correctly from that whole answer? Is that where you were going with that?
Here's the thing, Tim. Else is not really good on emotions. They sort of overwhelm her, and it's sort of like one a week is sort of what we're working on right now. So I might have to explain some of this to her later.
It's identifying the emotion. Like, what did you when you smile? What is that called? That's what we're working on.
We have flashcards.
Yeah. Well, now you can see. Yeah, the competing, when you're like, oh, we want the music to be like this and like this. I think now you could see why we were going in two different directions.
Yeah, and it does make sense. I mean, a show like yours, it makes sense that you are actually going to be, you're doing that roller coaster ride. It's not just one thing. You're exploring when you're talking about these books and things. You're really exploring a lot of the whole gamut of emotions. So
yes, but we try to put on the fun face because the whole living in a basement and it sort of scares some people first. I think it's super normal.
Yeah,
and
I don't
healthy.
Know why people don't like the basement.
Yeah,
it's my place. I mean, I'm at home now in the basement. So
we might have to definitely relocate. I think
I really appreciate this basement. Can I just say?
Well, you know what? I think we could renovate and fit a third person in here.
No, okay, Tim, you took this way too far now. You know, we're just gonna have to keep him down in the basement. I'll take over his responsibilities as this head regional whatever.
CBWI.
I know what I'm doing. It's all the same thing, right?
As long as you can say the letters together, you got it. That's pretty much the resume requirement.
Well, isn't that what a lot of people think about writing though? Like in third grade, I learned how to write a sentence. I must be able to write a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Extreme, but it's kind of like that.
No, it's very true. Now, when you get into middle grade and stuff, I think I don't think people have that same attitude. I don't think they feel like they can just knock off a story as easily as some of the people that I've met, who enter into the picture book crowd. But those who do write great picture books, they're so talented, and it's an amazing skill just to even come up with the idea. That's half the battle. So anyway, I think any of those genres, I think you tap into something.
Yeah, we do have a really you're talking about, this going up and down in terms of the emotions and the frivolity to the serious. And this is going to be a serious question. So I just want to prepare you for that emotionally. We've been scrolling through your Twitter account, and we just wanted to clarify whether you or your dogs moderate that account, because there are a lot of pictures of your dogs, and we're a little bit concerned for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not really at liberty, because someone's watching really closely right now, for me to be honest, but
Okay.
Save me. But anyway, no. I mean, judging by the number of Chewy's deliveries that we get every day, I think we know who really runs the roost here. For those of you who are not pet owners, that's a pet company, online pet company that you can buy food and dog toys and things from.
Not too much. They haven't paid us for a product placement, but please don't promote them too much.
Oh.
But okay. If you want to promote us, Chewy, by the way, if you're listening, we are totally open. We like animals. Pets are cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be nice when I talk about the things.
Yeah. So yes, they pretty much do rule the roost. And when they first come, we think we're training them, and then we realize we have been trained. It's weird. I don't know how they turn that around on us, but
maybe that will be your next book.
We've had four different dogs at this point in pairs, and they always manage to do the training of us. Especially because I will just say, the wife department is a pushover. They get her to do anything. And I'm too selfish and lazy. That's the key.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy got it wrong. It's not dolphins. It's the dogs that rule. Okay, we need to close out with one very important question outside of the Twitter question.
Okay.
Have you ever thought of combining music and writing for like musical? And usually when you say that to music people, they say, oh, you mean like the Who's Tommy? No, we mean like a musical, A musical. Oh, there you go. Have you ever thought about that?
As in complete music, or do you mean like what we normally think of as musical, Oklahoma or something?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? Or
yeah.
West Side Story?
Whether or not you're going to pursue it, has that ever been like, oh, I could do that one day? Or like, no, I'm so not going there.
No, I definitely, I think it would be a fun project to do. I mean, I've definitely written lyrics and then the music separately, and then combine them, or I write the lyrics for them, all those different order of events. And I think it'd be really interesting to try to do a musical, but that's a big project though. That's a major challenge.
Yeah. It's a good thing that I've written musicals and you write music, and Emily's
I write plays.
Actress. Plays too. So I think we can wrap this all up and go plan something that may or may not ever be seen. So
do we have a title yet, or
probably
Basement the musical?
That's really, that's a grabber. That's an attention grabber right there.
Yeah, right? I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, the dark place.
Whoa.
Dank.
Okay, this is why you're the writer.
Dank and dark.
That's the lights will
My
be on
life
for the
story.
whole show. Yeah, no lights in the show. Everyone just has to feel it. There we go.
So that's too bad. I was hoping we'd go on to epitaphs, because that's another favorite hobby of mine, is writing epitaphs. I keep changing my epitaph.
Oh, I thought writing for other people or writing for yourself?
No, for me. Yeah, no, it's kind of fun. It's just that half full glass side of me, I guess. I'm a positive kind of guy.
You are. So. And you know what? I think if you ever write a musical, it should be a one-man show called Epitaph. That's what, you got it. You got it right there. Okay, we'll produce it, because that's what we do for people. But someone else has to give us money to produce it. But otherwise, we'll produce it.
Well, I have to say thank you very much for allowing me to be on the show. I've been on the other side of it, listening to you guys interview, and I have to say, and this, I know this sounds like I'm leading up to borrowing money from you or something, but I really do think that it takes a certain skill to be able to interview well. And you guys are both very good listeners, and you don't just throw questions at people. You listen, and the conversations evolve generally. Not with me, because I'm like ADD, and I jump all over the place. So it was hard for you guys to kind of keep threat
Oh,
of
you have no idea.
co-parents in the interview.
Yeah,
For which
Tim,
I apologize in advance.
Yeah. Also, Tim, too many nice words. We already identified an emotion for me for this week, so it's going to get too much. I might get my own earmuffs. I'll come back.
I've used up my quota
Yeah.
for next month.
It's been a real treat to have you, and we are very grateful to you for the music. And we'll be saying this now every single time, but you'll see in the episode notes, Tim's website's going to be all over. We're going to say his name as much as possible to get into people's brains, because that's what we do.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And, hopefully listeners will send in comments about the music, whether they like it or not, or does it evoke certain emotions, or it takes them into a different place. I'm curious if they think it's appropriate, if it fits your show.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, nothing.
I know I'm opening doors for all the trolls out there. That's always a fun experience.
Well, you like goblins, trolls.
Yeah, we're going to leave you in the basement to deal with the trolls. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. And maybe we're saying when your books are published, not if, because you got to think positive.
Love it.
When that happens, we will have you back.
We'll have a basement signing.
Awesome. That's it. In the dark. Excellent.
Yes. Who knows what you'll be signing.
My penmanship will actually improve if it's written in the dark.
All right. Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yeah. It looks like I'm running at speed bumps most of the time.
Well,
right.
really,
we'll
thank
you.
You.
Happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Tim, for coming on.
Thank you, Emily, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Oh My Word. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe and write a review. And please share the show with your friends. If you didn't like it, you can share the show with your enemies. Please also follow us on Instagram at Oh My Word Podcast. There we post episode updates, our ratings for each book, and also our personal reading recommendations. Music for the show is by Tim Burke. Editor is Gabriel Yaffe. We'll see you next week.